Well, this week's talk was going to be about disability and breathing, respiratory problems, but I got a really good question from a viewer, so I decided to talk about that. And what I'm going to talk about is people with combined physical and psychological problems for Social Security disability. Hello, I'm John Foster. I'm a medical doctor who does Social Security disability exams, and as usual, everything I say reflects my own opinions based on my own experience and study, and not the opinions of the Social Security Administration or any other medical body. Now, the person asked if they have both physical and psychological problems. Are those both evaluated in the consultative examination? And how do I handle that? So, first off, just about everybody, probably 90% of the people I see for consultative examinations claim to have physical and psychological problems. And if you've seen any of my previous videos about psychological issues, I think this is largely because our society here in America has lost track of what really represents mental illness and what is normal. And currently, if you're not full of joy and passion 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're considered mentally ill. Any amount of worry or sadness is a mental illness, anxiety or depression, and personally I find that ludicrous. And most of the people that I see for consultative examinations who claim to have both physical and psychological problems are psychologically normal. And if you find this interesting, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I generally put out a new disability-related video every Friday morning. Now, I must say, I definitely see some people who have serious mental illness, and I see some people who have serious physical illness and serious mental illness combined. When we look at the work-related abilities Social Security is most interested in, we find that 7 of them are physical: the ability to sit, stand, walk, lift, carry, and handle objects. 6 of them are psychological: concentrate, remember, persist, interact socially, and adapt. And 1 of them is sort of a combination of physical and psychological, which is the ability to travel. So Social Security considers physical and psychological problems equally. During a consultative examination, here's my approach. It would be wonderful if I could do a complete physical and psychological assessment on the people that I see, but obviously time is limited. The people that I see generally have more than 1 physical problem and are generally claiming to have more than 1 psychological problem. It takes about half an hour, which is the time I have allotted, to do a thorough physical exam. And a thorough psychological evaluation takes about 50 minutes. There's simply not enough time for me to adequately assess somebody physically and psychologically for a consultative examination. So when I see someone who tells me that they have both physical and psychological problems, I try to get an idea of what is their major issue. If they have major psychological problems, I ask them, are they seeing a therapist, such as a psychiatrist or psychologist? If they are, I ask if those records have been sent to Social Security. Just like with physical problems, if you have up-to-date medical records, preferably with at least 1 consultation by a specialist, that's ideal for a disability application. Likewise, if you're complaining of psychological problems and you have up-to-date records from a psychiatrist, that's ideal for your disability application. If they have up-to-date records from a mental health professional and Social Security has those records, then I just do the physical evaluation. And I tell those folks that at a consultative evaluation, I deal with the physical. If they don't have a therapist, psychiatrist, or psychologist that they're seeing, or if the last time they saw one was some time ago, like more than 2 years ago, Social Security offers psychological evaluations as well as consultative examinations. The consultative examinations are mostly for physical problems. The psychological evaluations are purely for mental health problems. They're done by a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist on a separate visit with a different doctor. And if you've been scheduled for 2 different visits for Social Security, it's likely that you've been scheduled for a consultative examination and a psychological evaluation. If a person tells me that their psychological problems are a major limitation for them and they haven't been seeing a therapist and they don't have a consultative psychological evaluation scheduled, I ask them if it would be okay with them if I recommended to Social Security that they get a psychological evaluation, and I explain how that will help their disability claim. And so far, in 7 years of doing disability exams, everyone I've talked to has agreed and could see that that was a good idea. Now, when I see clear evidence of severe mental illness, I add some notes about that to my record, even though I'm primarily doing a physical exam. Examples of severe mental illness would be a person who seems very depressed, or, as recently happened, a person who told me they'd been thinking about suicide, or a person who seems extremely anxious, or a person who's having hallucinations or delusions, or somebody who displays obvious signs of severe autism. Also, Social Security often provides what are called special instructions before I do a day of consultative examinations. Those are unique for each patient, and Social Security asks me to comment on specific things related to that person's disability claim. And a common request is for me to comment on the person's mental status. And what they want is, number one, a comment on the person's appearance. Do they appear clean, neat, and well-groomed, or are they disheveled, messy, intoxicated, etc.? Do they show signs of neurosis or psychosis? Neurosis might be marked anxiety or depression. Psychosis might be hallucinations or delusions. And then finally, how does the claimant relate to me and staff? And that's associated with the ability to relate with others. Now, if you are claiming mental illness as part or all of your disability claim, it's important to understand that just as with physical illness, having a diagnosis alone will not get you approved. It's not enough, for example, to say, I have anxiety. It's not enough even to say, I have schizophrenia. There are lots of people working with anxiety. There are some people working with schizophrenia. What's important is you must be able to describe clearly and believably how your mental health problems affect your ability to work. For example, someone with severe depression likely has difficulty concentrating, sometimes has difficulty remembering, is going to have difficulty dealing with other people and adapting to different and changing circumstances at work. You need to be able to express, to convey to your examiner and to Social Security how your mental health problems limit your ability to work, because that's the whole key to getting a disability application approved. Well, I hope this has been helpful, and as always, remember, if it happens, it's possible.